I'm here with Jean from the UK, and you told me you wanted to tell me something more about the Blue Crosses, the experiences you had there,
Yes,
and the history of Medjugorje.
I would like to do that. I would like to continue because the Blue Cross is very special to me. And when I first came in the 80s, as I shared in my previous recording, it was the most special of all, because at the time there was nothing and no one hardly there. And my husband and I had come to check out Medjugorje to see if it was real or not. And we believed immediately we were here, we believed it was real.
Why immediately?
It was just a spiritual knowledge, I think. It was just, we knew that it wasn't a hoax. We just knew it. Even though everything seemed to say the opposite. Everything around us seemed to say the opposite. So we believed. And then we were going to seek out the Blue Cross, because we were told that the visionaries of the children were children then, and that there are two Blue Crosses, and that those mark the spots where the children, where Mary appeared, where Our Lady appeared. And so they put the Blue Cross. It's not something spiritual that it's blue. It doesn't connect with Mary at all. It's just the fact that apparently somebody had some blue paint in their garage and painted the cross blue, which happens to be Mary's colour that we associate with Mary. So I thought that was quite lovely, that little snippet of information. And so I went there, and yes, as I'm coming up from the road, there are stones, and it's a little way up, and about halfway, I wasn't at the Blue Cross, about halfway, I felt Our Lady said to my spirit, "You are approaching my throne of grace." And I froze. I just thought, oh my God, what do I do? How do I approach her throne of grace? Do I take my shoes off? Do I kneel? I didn't know what to do. And I just was very still. And then I felt in my spirit again that she smiled and she said, "Just come, just come." So I went there, and from that moment, that was my special place. I don't know what year that was. It was in the 80s. It may not have been the first time we were there. May have been the second time. I don't know, but it was a very special encounter with Our Lady. And I can still, when I talk about that, I could feel it in my spirit. That's what she said. "You are approaching my throne of grace." I thought, my God, how do you approach the Mother of God on her throne? How do you do that? Well, you can't. There isn't a way. So you just go, and I just sat there and received from her. I don't know what I received, but I received peace, and I still receive peace. That's a place of peace for me, and I can sit there and I get lost in time. I even forget what day it is or what time it is. So I can just be very still. And recently when I was there, as I've had quite a sad bereavement in my family, which I'd rather not share at this point, but I heard this beautiful blackbird loud and clear. And when I looked for the bird, there he was on the tree behind the Blue Cross, directly behind it, a little tree, and this little black bird. He wasn't very big, but he had the voice of better than any orchestra. He was singing his little heart out, glory to God. And I believe that You know, that's what the birds do when they sing. And in my visit this time in Medjugorje, every time I go to a spiritual place, like the Candle Garden or even by Our Lady in front of the church, that blackbird is there and sings loud and clear. And I'm sure it's a message to me. You know, maybe the bird is saying, give glory to God with me, sing with me and give glory to God. But it's been very special. It's been very prominent this time, the blackbird, for some reason. And I haven't worked that one out, but... So that's the Blue Cross for me, and it is my, I don't know, not a secret place, but it's like that. It's like my secret place where I can be quiet with God and I can get lost, lose the time. Just time stops and I can be there quite happily. I can even miss a meal, which is quite unusual for me because I enjoy my food.
Me too.
So, yeah. Now, where shall I go from there?
I'd love to know, you know, you came in the 80s, you came into a communist country.
Yes.
How was the atmosphere when you came here?
I think I shared it in my previous video, but it was quite dark, spiritually dark, and heavy atmosphere. And people were frightened. That's what we felt. There was a lot of fear. We stayed with a beautiful lady who gave us accommodation at the request of the Blessed Mother, who had asked the people locally to take in pilgrims and to house them and to welcome them also. And this lady welcomed us so much, and we stayed with her. But the very next morning, there was, I've said this before, but in the thing, but to say it again, there were two people who came to inspect. They were officials dressed in black coats, and they had their clipboard, and they wanted the money that we'd paid her the previous evening, and then they took it and they gave her a small amount. Yeah, that was it. Which, yes, that's how it was. I can't make any comment on that, but that's how it was.
We have to say what it is.
Yes, it wasn't right.
Fear. It's a society based on fear, control.
It wasn't right. So she, poor woman, she didn't get what she needed. She probably didn't even get enough to cover what she spent with giving us food and but I guess that was the general thing at that time, you know. So
was it hard to get over the border for you guys?
No, we flew in, and we.
Yeah, it was Yugoslavia. There wasn't. You flew directly to Yugoslavia.
Yeah,
there was no border.
Yeah. I think we flew to Dubrovnik, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
To Dubrovnik. Yeah. No, it seemed to be all right, but outside there were lots of military, and there were lots of with rifles and stuff, and taxis were there, but they were quite nervous. We found a taxi to bring us, and he talked to us, and he said, my husband asked him, he spoke a little bit of English, and he said, what did he think about everything? He said he didn't know, but he knew something was happening there, but he didn't know what exactly, something spiritual. But he wasn't sure, you know, what was the truth and was not the truth. But he was convinced there was something happening that was powerful.
And then you came here, there were a lot of foreign people here from different nations like now, or how was it then?
At that time, no, there was not that many people. And no, there wasn't. There was one shop. There was, there was, I think I mentioned before, there was tobacco drying on the balconies. And Our Lady had obviously didn't want that to continue because I guess tobacco is harmful. She doesn't want to harm people. She wants to heal them. So then she changed it all, I believe it's her, into vineyards. So then it became vineyards instead of tobacco fields. And I think the people have prospered, but they've also struggled. And I think the deep faith of the people is incredible here. And it's only their faith has allowed them to survive in such times. And Cross Mountain, particularly, when you see the size of the stones that built that cross, they had to get them up there manually. Yeah. They had nothing else. So that's an absolute miracle that cross went up. And also in those early days, it used to light up. Well, there was no electricity up there. Okay. It used to light up in the evening. The cross, the Cross Mountain, the white cross used to light up. But that was long before there was electricity up there.
It was supernatural, meaning that.
Yeah, I mean, how else could it be?
Wow, that's amazing, huh?
You've not heard that before?
No, never heard.
Oh yes, it was definitely.
Did you see rosaries turn gold?
Oh yes, I had a good few myself, but I give them away. Yes, it's quite common. It was quite common then, and earlier on, not early, but in the 90s, you could say, for rosaries to turn gold. And I had a lady I was with. I used to be a helper in Lourdes for many, many years, and I used to look after a girl called Karen who had Huntington's chorea, which is a very serious illness and very, very sad, her illness. She couldn't speak and her limbs were twisted, and it's hereditary. So her sister had already died of it, and she was to die of it also. She was about 20. And I used to look after her. And when she died, the mother came to see me, and she brought Karen's rosary to show me. And not only had the links turned to gold, but the beads had changed colour. They were a blood red, the beads originally, and now they turned to a blue, a deep blue with a gold vein through the bead. It was like a thread of gold into the bead, and gold links as well. And I couldn't believe it, because many times she couldn't hold her rosary, but many times I held it for her. And I know those beads. I know the touch of them. If I had my eyes closed, I know it was Karen's beads, because I'd held them so many times. And when I finished, I used to lay it across her hands, because she couldn't hold anything. And she'd be really happy. I think I'm going to tell you about a miracle, actually, that happened with Karen. One time, Karen and her mum, this is obviously a little time before this incident, they came to stay with me for a week. It happened to be August, and it was coming up to the Assumption, 15th of August, Assumption of the Blessed Mother. I don't know how I knew, but I knew how to communicate with Karen. I've no idea how I did it, because she couldn't speak. But it used to be mainly with the eyes, and she would make it clear, and if she was something, she'd look at you, sort of glare at you, and, listen to me, was that message then. She said, listen, when she wanted something, she'd really glare at you. And so I found out that particular day. I was going to Mass anyway, because it was the Assumption.
Was that here or in England?
No, this was in England, back home. Yes, sorry, I didn't make that clear. She was staying with me for a week. And her mum didn't want to go because Karen suffered with seizures all the time, fits, and people used to gather around, you know, people used to look and stare, and she didn't want that. And she she was fed up with it, the mother. I don't blame her. She'd been through all that with her daughter beforehand, and now she was second time with this daughter. So anyway, but I knew in my heart that Karen wanted to go to Mass. And I tried to communicate to the mum. She wasn't having any of it. No, I'm not going. I don't want people hanging around. She will fit. She always fits. And I can't deal with it. And I said, I didn't know what to do. So I asked Our Lady, I said, I know Karen wants to go, Blessed Mother. If it's right, please can you open the way for her to go? And I prayed in front of Karen. She could hear and she could understand, but she couldn't speak. So she understood my prayer and her eyes lit up. Yes, she did want to go. Well, I knew she did anyway. I mean, I didn't need the confirmation, but then I can't remember exactly what happened. The mother called Edna, her name was Edna, she sort of changed her mind somehow. And she said, I don't really want to, but I can see what you mean. I think Karen wants to go, but I don't want this. And so I said, look, I promise you, the first fit she has, I will get a taxi and we'll leave. We won't hang around. We'll go. I promise you that, I said to the mother. So, yeah, we get to church, and we've got beautiful grotto to Our Lady of Lourdes there. It's a really beautiful statue, and the face is very real. And we sat there on the front bench in front of Our Lady's altar, on the side of the main altar, and we got her out of her chair. She had a chair made to measure her body because her body was very twisted. And I had her legs and that half, and the mother had the head and the top half of her body on our laps. So it would be nice and soft for her, you know, and we had a cushion for her head, the mother had. So the Mass began. And it was lovely, and there was singing, and everything was fine. And then all of a sudden, Karen speaks. Someone who's never spoken since she was diagnosed, some years. And she said, Mum, was I baptized in this church?
Unbelievable. Yeah.
And the mother nearly collapsed, honestly. She was so shocked, and so she said, no, Karen, you weren't baptized in this. No. And she told her the church she was baptized in. And then she said she wanted us to lay her down in front of the altar, on the carpet in front of the altar after Mass. She wanted to be laid there, and she wanted her own communication with God. So we did it. I didn't even ask the permission of the priest. We still had her on our laps, so we both carried her up, put her on the floor, and she said a few more things. I can't actually remember what they were, but yeah, it was an amazing time. Sadly, the speech didn't last, but it was a gift from Our Lady, I think, for her, because it was her feast day and she came to Mass. She was just, and we knew, and the mother knew, that Karen was in a very good place spiritually. She was very aware and really knew what she was asking when she wanted to be laid there. And I'm sure she's, well, I don't know what she is in heaven, but she'll be a saint and an angel all at once, I think. She's a lovely person.
We misunderstand all this, no? As out of our human way of thinking.
Yes, yes. So Karen was very happy when we came back to my house. So was Edna, and so was I. So it was a most beautiful day, and it was Our Lady's feast day.
The 15th.
Feast of the Assumption.
Wow, beautiful.
Yes. It was very good. It was an amazing... I call that a miracle. I mean, she wasn't healed of the illness, but she spoke so clearly, and no fits. She didn't have any fit the whole time. And the previous year, I'd been in the Jumbulance with her. We went to Rome, and she had 36 fits, I counted them, on the road going to Rome.
And all the way from England? Or?
All the way from England. We went by, they call it an alligator Jumbulance, where there's a turntable in the middle, so that when you turn corners, it's very long. So that was the kitchen area where we used to bring the food to. And we had beds on one side, and we had very reclining chairs for the not so sick on the other side. They all were really seriously ill people with, you know.
I mean, if I may ask, you went through a lot of challenges. Did you ever doubted your Catholic faith?
Oh, no.
Maybe.
Only makes me believe more.
The challenges.
Yeah, absolutely, because it's exciting. And you know God's going to do something. I mean, I've always got this anticipation. God's going to come in. He's going to act in some way.
Yeah.
Maybe not what you would have liked. I would have chosen for Karen to be completely healed, but God chose to do it that way through Our Lady, you know, that she had an amazing breakthrough, and her mother was absolutely delighted. I was delighted. She was delighted. So it was a gift. It was, you know, it was an amazing thing. And the mother told me when Karen died, I wasn't able to get to the funeral, sadly. They lived in Devon and I live in Sussex, so I couldn't make it for some reason. I can't remember why. And she told me afterwards that when Karen had wanted, I don't know how this was known, but she'd wanted a horse-drawn carriage to take the coffin to the church. And so there were white horses, and then as they passed the river and went over the bridge in the village where they were, 2 beautiful white swans came out of the river and they walked behind the carriage to the church. And she had a picture of it. She showed me the picture. These 2 white swans plodding along to team with the white horses. There were white horses and white swans. I don't know what the spiritual significance is,
Could
but
it be her sister died as well? That maybe the two
maybe.
somehow...
Who knows?
Yeah.
Only God knows. But it was, and the mother said to me, I wish you could have seen it. But anyway, here's the picture. And
amazing.
She sent me a photograph. And yeah, it was really amazing. So these are all miracles. I mean, I seem to have been witnessing a lot of miracles, only because my original passion was for miracles. It still is, actually.
Yeah.
And I love the idea of what God can do. He's so great when there's it's impossible.
Yeah.
But it's not for him.
Yeah.
Nothing's impossible for him. And there's a worship song I like at the moment, Waymaker, Miracle Worker.
Yeah.
Light in the darkness. Promise Keeper. My God. It's just incredible. It just goes on.
That's amazing. Your life is already, it's a movie. you know?
Well, yeah, I get excited about it.
You should write a book, maybe.
I think, well, the Lord's been asking me to, but I haven't got round to it yet. I better hurry up.
And what would you tell people who go through these challenges? A child who is sick, or a parent who is sick, or you know, traumatic experience?
Well, be real, be yourself, and just try to surrender it all, to lay it all down. Because I know how much the Lord loves us, and he doesn't want us to carry these burdens. And sometimes he just wants us to lay it down, give it to him, offer it. For example, you could put it all in a basket in your mind. You can take all these things that are troubling you and put them one by one in the basket, and place the basket in the altar, or at the foot of the cross, or where you feel prompted, where's right for you, to give it to God, and then ask him to fill those empty spaces with his love, his peace, his joy, his Holy Spirit. And then you'll find yourself, quite unexpectedly in a way, in a better place inside yourself. Instead of, and I know for a fact he's given me these words when I've prayed for people who have a lot of issues, to like, especially anxiety, worry, stress. Sometimes we don't even know what it's all about, but we're anxious. We're very anxious. He can do anything. He can do anything, and he can change anything. So it's about trusting, really. Just trust him, and then he can act. Because when we're in that place of, oh, I've got all these worries and problems, he can't get in. Yeah. But if we can unload that, then it leaves space, and God can come and help us and pour out his love and peace and joy and everything to make us well again.
Yeah.
Because that's what it's all about, I think. We just get a bit lost. And he is a God of the impossible. That's what I've come to know. Yeah. I think it's amazing. Sometimes I just can't fathom how he does it, but he does it. And you think, how did that work? But you can't work it out, because God is God, and he does what he will. And usually his timing is pretty perfect. Sometimes it's not the right time. And when I've had miracles myself, he will, first of all, he has to prepare my mind, my mindset. Sometimes we got the wrong mindset. Then he has to prepare my heart, and then he can give me what he wants to give me. But, you know, people want these things to happen bang like that. No, it isn't like that. He has to prepare the way, because he is the one that prepares the way. He is the way.
He's the way.
Yes. So he prepares it, and then we're able to receive. I'll probably go on to one of the miracles I've had now, I think.
Yes. Lovely to listen to you. Yeah.
So I had for a long time, maybe how many years? Maybe 20 years. I had celiac disease, very severely. It was celiac disease is when you can't take gluten, gluten intolerance, and I had it very badly. I used to, if I had, I used to vomit. I had diarrhea as well at the same time, and I used to pass out, faint on the ground. And those three things would happen simultaneously. If I'd eaten even a little bit of flour, you know, maybe a sweet dusted in flour. But I didn't know what it was at that point. And I was so ill, and then I was losing weight, and the doctor, my GP in England, it was a lady doctor. She said she thought it was psychosomatic, so she kept giving me tranquilizers, a prescription, and I got quite annoyed one day, and I just tore it up and put it in the bin in front of her. I said, I want to see a specialist. I am not imagining this. This is serious, and I need help. And so I went to, she sent me, and as soon as he saw me, it was a lovely specialist, endocrinologist, I think he was. He said, oh, I think you're a celiac. Yeah, but I'll have you in and we'll do a biopsy. They have to put the wire down your throat and it's got a little cutter on the end of it, so it takes a piece of your intestine and they bring it up and it's analysed in the labs to see, and yeah, it was positive. A normal person, inside their intestine is villi, there's little hairs, they call it villi, and they absorb the nutriments from food and everything else. And mine was completely flat. I had no villi at all in my intestine. So he said, yeah, you will. And then he made a pronouncement, which I now know to be a lie. And I don't actually think I believed him. I don't know why I didn't believe him. But he said, you will never, ever be able to eat wheat again. He said, it's a poisoning. He said, this is a poison to you. It's, when you eat wheat, it actually poisons you. It's not an allergy. It's not it's not anything else but that. And therefore, you must not eat wheat ever again. As long as you keep on a gluten-free diet, you should be all right. But of course, when you go out, if you're in a restaurant and you say, does that meal have flour in it? Does that soup have flour in it? Of course they're going to say it. Yes, it's okay. And then you're ill, so it didn't work for me. The gluten-free thing. I thought, no, it just needs healing. It just needs for God to deal with it. And I don't know how old I was then, late 20s, 30s, something like that. In 30s, maybe early 30s. And I thought, what can I do? How can I get this amazing healing that I need? I know I need it. And then my daughter informed me that there was a healing conference in her area. She lived in, near Arundel in Sussex, which is about an hour from me, and in Chichester. And she said, Mum, there's a healing conference. It's people from America. Do you want to come? I'd like to go. And she didn't want to go on her own. She was married, my daughter, at that point, and that's where she lived. So I went with her. And as we went into this conference, it was by people, it wasn't Catholic, but it was Christian. It was a Vineyard Ministries, they were called. And we went into the building, and on my left, I noticed this girl sitting on the ground with her back against the wall, and she was very, what I call hippie. The old word is hippie, but I don't know what you call it in the modern language, but...
Still hippie, maybe? Yeah.
But she didn't, she looked like she needed a bit of help as well, And I felt a bit sorry for her, and I thought, oh, how lovely. She's come in off the street, and she wants healing. I hope they don't tell her to leave. This is me. I got it completely wrong, of course, but that was what I thought when I came in. And then we had the first session. It was very good, talk and everything. And then the man said, the leader of the conference, he said, I'm going to release my team into among the people, and if you got anything long-standing, an illness that you've had for a long time, would you please call one of my team to pray for you? Well, I didn't call anybody because this girl made her way straight to me. She was one of the team. She was actually one of the team, and I thought, oh my God, look what I thought. But I didn't think anything bad of her. I just thought she needed a bit of help. And she came straight to me and looked at me in the eyes, and it's like she looked at my very soul. She had a deep quality about her, very deep. And she got on her knees and she cried and she sobbed. She sobbed over my feet and made my shoes wet, actually, with her tears. And it made me think of Jesus when, Mary wept over his feet and then dried them with her hair. And it made me feel it was very touching, but I didn't know I'd never seen that before. I didn't know there was such a thing, but apparently there is a ministry of tears. I had no idea about that. She did it for me anyway, and she went on for quite a time. And then all of a sudden it was turned off like a tap. It was a spiritual thing, so it wasn't her. But she said, you will be healed, but not yet. But you will be healed, completely healed. So I thought, brilliant. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
I was so happy. And I was very disciplined at that point I didn't look in a baker's shop window or anything like that. What's the point? I can't eat it. So why would I look? And I tried not to have anything that had wheat, but sometimes you did, but not, I was really quite disciplined. So we went for the lunch break then. We'd had a morning session. We went for the lunch break, and my daughter wanted to get something in the baker's, of course, because she could eat it. I couldn't. And I said, okay, I'll wait for you outside. And I'm looking at the window. And this is the first time I'd ever done that since I'd been diagnosed with celiac disease. Looking in the window and just wanting to eat a bread roll. I wanted some, because I hadn't had bread, wanted to eat a nice crispy roll. Oh, I just was drooling over and she came out and she said, Mum, what are you doing? You don't usually look in bakers' windows. You can't eat any of that. What's the point? What are you doing? I said, I just want to eat it. I really do. I want to have a bread roll. Well, you can't, Mum, she says, and she was a bit concerned why I was so fixated on this bread roll. Anyway, we went back into the session again. It was all very good and fantastic, and it was a lovely session. She had a healing for something small. I can't remember what it was, headaches or something. And then the next step of my healing then was a couple of months later or 3 months later. That was Easter, around Easter. Then in August I went to the Shrine of Our Lady for a Catholic charismatic conference. And I usually go into the book tent there. It's all in the shepherd's fields with tents.
Which city?
Yeah, so we're the sheep, go to the shepherd's tents,
From Sweden.
Yeah. So usually there's a book tent with all the latest books, which I loved at that point, and I want to buy like 3/4 of them. But because of my greediness with books, I got used to making a prayer as soon as I got in there. Right, Lord, if there's any book you want me to have, never mind me, leave me out of it, because I'll have far too many. Just show me what you want me to take. There was all these fantastic books, and I'm looking around, oh, I like that one, I like that one, I like that. but it was me. It wasn't God. So I didn't take anything, and I get to exit the tent, and I'm thinking, and I said to the Lord, isn't there even one book for me? Not one. There must be one. And then my eyes were drawn under the table. There was a box with books in it. And I loved the title, so I knew that was my book. I picked it up, and it was called Only Love Can Make a Miracle. That's my thing. Yeah. Only love can make a miracle. So I thought, wow, wonderful. I'll read, and I picked it up. I went off somewhere under a tree and started reading it, and I missed God knows how much of the conference, and I couldn't put the book down, and it was fantastic. And I thought, right, this is it. This is amazing. It really spoke to me, not just for myself, but for miracles in general. And this guy the guy who wrote it was someone called Mahesh Chavda. He was a Hindu turned Christian. And when he was a child in India, a missionary had come to the door and asked for water. He'd given him water, and in return he gave him a New Testament. And he didn't even look at it at that point, because his mother particularly was very much high up in the Hindu class system of the kind of royalty, they call it, in their religion. So he hadn't looked at it, but later on he did look at it. And he was given the gift of miracles, Mahesh, by the Lord, when he eventually came into faith properly. And he's a very amazing, I believe he's still alive, but he used to come and give conferences in Brighton at that time, but I think he's still alive. I hope he is. Amazing man, very low-key, not in your face. He's very gentle, low-key, and very, very sincere was how you feel he is. And he's a big man, but he fasts a lot. Yes. And the Lord wanted him to fast. And he put him in a school of love, he called it, that was for very, very handicapped boys, and boys that have been through a lot of abuse, boys and girls as well, you know. And he said, this is your school of love, and you are to learn what I want you to do. And you follow me, you listen to me, and I will show you how to deal with each one that you bring to me. I will show you how to deal with him. And there was one boy particularly that was very, very damaged, and you would say beyond help. But he was to fast for him for 40 days. And he said fasting was so difficult. He said he loved crisps, and if he opened a cupboard and the bag of crisps, he said, would jump out at me. It would just jump on me, the crisps. But he managed it. He managed it. And then he said to him, after you've fasted 40 days, you can pray for him, but not before. You don't pray for him until then. And he prayed for him. My God, you'd have to read the book to see what happened.
You know the title of the book?
Yes, it's Only Love Can Make a Miracle.
Wow, yeah.
Mahesh Chavda.
Good.
Or Mahesh. Mahesh Chavda. I think it's Mahesh. Chavda, Chavda. Yes, so that was it, and it was just incredible. And when he did pray with him, my God, he just flew across the room supernaturally. And then sank down by the wall, and he was completely normal. Wow. The boy, completely normal.
I believe.
back in his right mind.
Mm-hmm.
His body parts that were disfigured were all correct. Everything. So nothing's impossible for God. That's what I want to say, really. Nothing's impossible. And it's
amazing.
only have to believe.
Yes.
It sounds simple, but it isn't.
Yes.
But if you try to listen to the Lord and follow his instruction, he'll give you the right way to whatever situation you find yourself in and you need his help.
Mm-hmm. Can you describe the process? I'm sorry for interrupting you.
Yeah, because of with me, it was like he had to prepare my mind to receive, you know, he had to prepare my mind when I had the celiac disease to receive his healing. And the girl who prayed for me over my feet and cried, that was the first step. It was to change my thinking. Because then I was drawn to the baker's shop window. I would never have gone there. But I found myself thinking, maybe I could eat a bread roll. If the Lord was to heal me, I could eat it. And wouldn't that be amazing? I started to think differently. So it changed my mindset first. And like it says in Scripture, pray for a renewal of your mind. That's what we all need to do. You put on the mind of Christ when you put on the body armor. And every day, I reinforce it every day, then you ask for the mind of Christ to be operative in you so that you can receive and you can operate how he wants you to operate, not what you think, because what you think probably is completely wrong. So it's taken me all my life. It's a slow process, but I'm still learning, and God is amazingly good. So anyway, my healing. I just finish off with my healing of celiac disease, which the final thing, because he did it in stages. He did it with the girl praying with the tears, and then the next thing was the book I read in Walsingham. And then I was on a high with the book. Yeah. I thought, wow. And then I found out in October, it was all in 1 year, but 3 sections. In October, I found out, wow, Mahesh Chavda is here. He's coming to Brighton, where I live. Of course, God knows all that, but to me, it was absolute incredible surprise. And also, it was the only conference I've been to. God knows why we don't have them now. That conference was mega powerful. It was 3 denominations. It was Catholic, Evangelical, and Pentecostal. And they all came together, believe it or not, in unity. That was a miracle. The unity was a miracle, because we love picking holes in each other. Ooh, they do this, they don't do that, they haven't got Holy Communion, blah, 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 blah. Why do we do stuff like that? It's ridiculous. And it must sadden God's heart when we criticize each other and our churches and the way that churches are. Why can't we just come together on what we can come together with? Like that conference, we could all worship God, and we did. We all in unison we worshipped, and the singing was incredible. And there was an amazing worship song which kept playing in my head, and it was, "I have brought you to my banqueting table, and my banner over you is love." Wow. And it's such a beautiful song. And I think it was John Wimber Ministries. John Wimber was very prevalent in those days. Anyway, it was an amazing conference. And when it came to town, I thought, well, I'll go this morning and I'll go and register we had a conference hall by the beach. Yes. So it was there, and I went to Mass as usual, but the gospel that day was the Lord is holding a banquet.
Wow.
And he's inviting everyone. But what are those people doing? One says, oh, I can't come, I'm getting married. Another one says, I can't come, I've got to plough my field.
Mm-hmm.
They were all making excuses.
Mm-hmm.
So then he sent out his servants to the hedgeways and the byways to bring in the crippled, the lame, anyone who would come to the banqueting hall. And when it was full, the door was locked. So as the priest read that, I put my hand up. I went, yeah, I'm coming. I'm coming. I'm coming to his banquet. And everyone turned around looking at me. Has she gone mad? You know, she's gone completely mad.
But you were joyful like a child.
Yeah, because it connected with the conference. Yeah. For me, it connected. And I had intended to go along there to I think, yeah, I'm coming. And I didn't know at that point that my favourite song was going to be, I've invited you to my banqueting table and my banner over you is love. Mm-hmm. I mean, so I accepted the invitation before it was, in a sense, before it was offered. I accepted it. So I ran. I never run anywhere, even when I can't run now, but when I could run, I never run. I used to walk fast, but not run. I ran all the way along the seafront to the conference hall to sign in. Mm-hmm. And it was just an incredible feeling, and I had such anticipation. Mm-hmm. So then I'll fast forward, because I've been talking a long time, and I hope everyone hasn't got earache.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's so interesting. End up in the conference?
In the conference, it was a 5-day conference, and we had amazing input. Mm-hmm. We also had a mass every day at the conference hall, because there was a input from a Catholic priest, was the Catholic section, an evangelical Pentecostal, and then on the last day was Mahashchavda, and he said. He came and spoke in the morning, gave a little talk, and he said his session would be in the afternoon. Mm-hmm. And if anybody had not yet been prayed with for a long-standing illness or disease or something that was, they had been told was incurable, he would pray with everyone that came. Well, in that conference hall, we were about 3,000 people, and I think about 1,500 tried to get down. I was upstairs, so it was like graduated seats like that. Get down to the main hall where he was, and there he was starting to minister. But before he ministered, the air was electric. That's all I can say. You could almost see sparks. You couldn't see sparks, but you could feel as you breathed the air, it was electric. It wasn't just air. It was electric air. And you had to have a feeling of anticipation. You couldn't not have. And he went round to everyone and just lightly touched them, like no more than a butterfly touch on the head, just like that. But before he was getting to people, they were going crash, crash, crash. He was only like, for example, over there, he was coming, but people were already falling over there before he got to them. Well, he came to me. I was in the outer circle. We'd made 2 huge circles. And he'd done the first circle, so he was coming to the outer circle. And he got to me, and nothing happened. And I thought, what? I was shocked. I was waiting to fall down, you know. Not everybody fell down, and some people were a bit wobbly and didn't know what it had hit them. But I thought, no, I want the full thing. I don't want half measure. So. In my mind, he'd gone. They'd gone down there. He'd gone about, I don't know, 20 people ahead of me by then. And I said, Jesus, don't pass me by. And he comes back.
Yeah.
He turns round and comes all the way back to me, and he gave a little tiny blow, like you know, a birthday cake candle is so small, it maybe wouldn't have even blown that out. He went like that. It was like gale force wind. It was like I was on a ship. My clothes were blowing, my hair was blowing. Boom! I hit the floor, and then I felt this electricity from my toes up to the top of my head, down again. Father, Son, and Holy Spirit it was, and up again 3 times, all electric. I felt I was just, wow, it was just, I was plugged in. Total mega power electricity. And then after I came out of it, I just sat up and howled. I sat on the floor and just howled like, wow, it's gone. I knew it had gone. It had gone. I was fine. And I've been fine ever since. That's why I'm the size I am.
Every day you go
I'm
to the
eating
bakery now.
cakes and bakery and anything.
Come on, let's have a croissant de chocolate.
That was a long time ago. So God knows how many years. I mean, I'm 82 now, so.
You don't look like, you know, the man who converted me said, you look 10 years, 15 years younger.
30-something I was. Isn't it an amazing, though? Amazing story.
Keep on going.
Well, I think that's it, really. I'm just so grateful to God.
And you pray for people now too, I don't know.
I do. Well, I can't say I have the gift that Mahesh has got, but I pray and I believe that maybe I'm part of the preparation for that person to be able to receive. Like for me, I learnt from that. I wasn't able to receive. I had to have my mind changed first. So I believe that's step 1 with a miracle. At least it was for me. Why wouldn't it be for everybody? You know, so I think maybe God uses me for step 1 or maybe even step 2 so far. And I have had one lady said she got healed of cancer after I prayed, but you know, I think that was just a one-off, but it's nothing to do with me anyway. God just uses me, and I hope he continues to use me.
He does already now, look, doing the video.
Oh, well, I hope it will help people to really have, I want to encourage everyone to just go for it. Just believe, and if you feel you can't believe, then ask for the grace and just lay down your unbelief and pick up belief. Do a divine exchange with the Lord. It's like giving your sins, putting them in the sin bin in the church, or you can dump your lack of faith in there and ask for faith for miracles. That's my parting word, I think. Ask for faith for miracles, because you'll get it if you ask for it. And anticipate it, and it will come.
You thank in advance already, as it's written in the Bible, no?
Yes. So I feel I'm very blessed, and I'm so thankful to God, really, for everything and everyone in my life. I think it's been incredible, and I'm not done yet.
Yes, there's more to come.
I hope so.
Teach more.
Yes,
all of us.
I hope so. Yes, thank you for your patience, and I think that's enough.
Yeah, thank
for
you so
today.
much for that interview.
Yes, you're welcome.